Police in Saudi Arabia have arrested at least 20 activists, including 3 prominent clerics who've been critical of the kingdom's policies. Most recently, the sanctions against Qatar. But is something bigger happening behind this crackdown on dissent? There are reports that King Salman is maneuvering the chess pieces to abdicate in favor of his son. It's not a far-fetched theory, given he took the unprecedented step of firing not just one, but 2 crown princes to make his next of kin the heir apparent. So would that bode well for the future stability of Saudi Arabia? Joining me now to answer that question is Michael Stevens. He's in London, working as a Middle East Fellow at the Royal United Services Institute, RUSI. And here in studio is Ghalib Dalai, a research director at Asharq Forum. Gentlemen, good to have you both on the program. Michael Stevens, let me begin with you. Are we seeing a fast tracking of the succession plans?
I think we've already seen a fast tracking of the succession plans. First of all, with the removal of Crown Prince Muqrin, and then the removal of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Nayef to put Mohammed bin Salman in place. Unprecedented. The way in which the institution of the Crown Prince has been seemingly rode over by King Salman is quite unique. Not once, but twice. In the reign of Salman, which is only 2.5 years old. So we are definitely seeing a fast tracking, and it looks pretty certain that Mohammed bin Salman will be king in the near future. When that is exactly is difficult to know, but it is absolutely certain that he is accruing more and more power and being given more authority. And it looks like that will be the most likely future for Saudi.
Ghalib Dalai, is he the de facto king anyway right now, in practice?
Well, he is the de facto king in practice, and he is running most of the important institutions of the state. He is running most of the big projects, like Saudi 2030 ambitious economic development project. He's executing the war in Yemen. He is the chief architect of the crisis with Qatar. So he's basically the one that is running the regional policy. So he's de facto is running the institution of power in Saudi Arabia. But nevertheless, I think he still doesn't have his hand on all levels of power, particularly when it comes to the National Guard and the religious establishment. Yes, they are not opposing him outrightly, but what I feel and what I say is that he is basically having control almost in all aspects of the power level in Saudi Arabia, but not as much still yet around National Guard and the religious establishment.
So then I wonder, Michael Stevens, when we see in one fell swoop 3 prominent clerics get arrested along with other activists, and you have these guys, Salman al-Auda, Awad al-Qarni, etc., massive, big kind of superstar clerics, if you look at their Twitter followers and their videos and that sort of thing, right? When you see that happening, does it suggest that he's kind of doing housekeeping before he assumes the throne as he tries to grab hold of all the levers of power?
Yeah, I think what's important to note here is that clerics have always danced a dangerous game around power in Saudi Arabia, and there have been times before. Actually, in 2014, when King Abdullah also put pressure on clerics like Mohammed al-Arifi, who were expressing sentiments which were pro-Muslim Brotherhood, for example. And a number of clerics then, these superstar clerics with these millions of Twitter followers, were also told at that time that they needed to be a little bit quieter. But I think what's happened here is slightly different from 2014, in that you have a crown prince who doesn't have the history and the legitimacy yet to have power in all sectors, as Ghalib said, particularly in the religious establishment. Now, what you had with the sons of Ibn Saud, Abdullah, Faisal, and even King Salman, because he's been governor of Riyadh for many years, he had a close relationship with the religious establishment. He has the respect and the authority needed to be able to control them. Mohammed bin Salman doesn't have that. And of course, what you're seeing is some sort of maneuvering there to get that sort of power back. It's clearly got some political motivations to it as well. I think that there are certain belief systems that these clerics like Salman al-Auda have, which don't tie in exactly with what Mohammed bin Salman is trying to do. And so the best option is to keep them quiet. I don't know exactly how this will play out, whether they will be detained indefinitely or whether there will be some sort of message to them that they need to change their line in public. Certainly, I wouldn't put it past the Saudis to have some sort of conversation on that level. But I think you're absolutely right. They are trying to bolster Mohammed bin Salman's position. And one of the things they've got to do is take care of the clerical establishment.
Yeah, one of the reasons we're having this discussion is Saudi is so opaque. It's such a kind of riddle inside, a mystery inside an enigma, or I don't know in which order to put those words. But it is like that. Is the message generally, Ghalib, that if you have a following, if you're not against Qatar, if you're not against the Muslim Brotherhood, and if you are against the current war in Yemen, you might be locked up? Is that essentially the message?
Well, this is one of the messages, but I think like this is not the only reason behind this recent crackdown on the clerics, because we have seen it's like right now more than 20 clerics has been, detained. We're only knowing the name of the most famous one, but it's like, the number is larger than this. What I suspect, I mean, I don't know that, I still, that's not knowledge by any means, but what I suspect that we might see something like, accompanying the declaration of transition of power from King Salman to his son. When I say like, declaration, that might be, this talk of some kind of modernization, the Saudi social life, the Saudi political system. I suspect that King Mohammed bin Salman probably has some ambitions, also be, the person that will open the way in this regard as well too. So while going forward for this, some kind of like social modernization, I don't want to call the, I don't want to use the word secularization. I think this is one way of silencing the clerics. We have seen, for instance, in 1991, when there was during the invasion of Iraq, the first Gulf War, we have seen like Saudi Arabia taking some similar measures against the clerics. That the one that has not approved the Saudi Arabia joining the U.S. Joining forces with the U.S. against Iraq. So what I suspect here, yes, the Qatar is one reason. Yes, the war in Yemen is one reason. Yes, to get the clerics to condone the rise of Mohammed bin Salman is one reason. But I also suspect perhaps we are seeing something else that will be accompanying the rise of Mohammed Salman to the kings, that we might see him declaring some kind of a new structure. One structure will be towards the Mecca, Medina, the holy places, and another structure or the law or the procedure towards more like, the general Saudi Arabia. And these might create some kind of like trouble with the clerics. So I see this also a message to the rest of the clerical community in this regard as well too.
Based on all the available evidence so far in everything that he's involved himself in, whether it's with regards Yemen or internally or the hawkishness vis-a-vis Iran, what kind of king can we expect Mohammed bin Salman to be long term?
Well, I think at the moment, if we look at the track record of his policies, a lot of them haven't gone that well. It's pretty clear he's on a steep learning curve. As you pointed out, he has a young team around him. I'm afraid to say that, there's a reason that young decision makers don't generally get to the top in Western systems, and because they tend to be quite rash and impulsive, and wisdom comes with time and experience. I'm 34. I would love to be an ambassador, but I don't think it would be possible in my system, for example. And there is a reason for that. And I think that ultimately what you have to say is that maybe time and experience will mellow him, and maybe he will understand that some of the policies he's taken, and we see it now with the sort of restructuring of the reform program. There's a little bit of realism creeping into some of that ambition that he had. It's clear he's a very ambitious young man. He wants to do a lot to reform the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and that's fine. Nobody is saying that that is the wrong way to go. It's just the realism of the policy. How do you implement it? What structures are you putting in place? How effective are those going to be? I'm afraid to say that hasn't gone so well. So for the moment, I think we need to say, there's a little bit more of a learning process to go there. Let's hope that he has a good team of advisors around him that can guide him through that. But at the end of the day, taking, rash decisions like the one against Qatar, for example, or this war in Yemen, I think those are going to be black marks on his record. He's going to have to work hard to rebalance those.
Okay, I've got to move on. It was fascinating demystifying Saudi Arabia a little bit with you gentlemen, Michael Stevens and Ghalib Dalai. Thank you very much for joining us.